Oh, hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, GemMint. We are here at CCXP 2023 at the Iron Studios booth. They've got some crazy stuff out here, so let's take a look at it.
All right, guys, opening up, let's just take a look at the entire booth from the sky view. So to the left, you can see the Queen Studios half-scale Iron Man pieces, and to the right, you can see the big Iron Studios logo, the big BT, and here that is close up, so you could enter through the booth on either one of these sides, and then the other two sides are blocked off. Onto that one entrance, Queen Studios half-scale Iron Man pieces. This is probably my least favorite Iron Man armor, but it was my favorite statue out of all three of these. The Mark I, incredible detail and paint, and just the sculpt in itself, the eyes behind the mask. Then moving on to a fan favorite Mark VII, you can see the debris on the base. Moving up to the armor, much more intricate and cleaner than the Mark I armor. Got that nice Iron Man action pose. And then we have the Mark 85 from Avengers Endgame, the one with the crazy weaponry over his back. But this one has similar rocky, dusty type of base, but that clean, smooth armor with that nice paint job, and there goes the weapons coming over his shoulders. Then on to the Prime 1 Studios selection, man. So the Superman vs. Doomsday, which is a piece that I wanted, and I gotta say, I'm glad I didn't get it. This thing is enormous. The base is huge. I think this would crash my displays. Doomsday, the fallen Doomsday with Superman overhead. I mean, the detail is on point though. I mean, the texturing, the paint applications, but really the sheer size is what sells this piece. I had to actually come around and get it from another angle just to show you guys, but the destroyed Daily Planet, which actually reminds me of the Iron Studios Superman vs. Doomsday. But from this angle, we can see a closer look at Doomsday. The detail is there, but I didn't really like that neck seam. Onto Superman, the muscle definition is crazy. His rage portrait, sculpted cape, killer piece for sure. Now, the Wonder Woman is one that I've seen in pictures, but it really doesn't do it justice. In person, this thing is gorgeous. The texturing on all the serpents, the blood details and all the damage that they've sustained. Crazy detail on the mouth. I'm not sure why they didn't go red blood. It has like a pinkish type of slime in its mouth. But Wonder Woman action pose, very smooth on the skin textures. That hair is wild in the wind. The Dark Knight, I want to say this is a 1/3 scale. Christian Bale, what more can you say? They actually have this on the floor in quarter scale as well. But yeah, Christian Bale. Now onto some Iron Studios. Quarter scale Hellboy. I feel like not enough people are talking about this. It does come with 3 portraits and some arm switch outs, if I remember correctly. This portrait having Hellboy with a cigar in his mouth. Next to him is an incredible piece, a 1/10 scale Doc Ock from their upcoming Spider-Man vs. Villains line. They're going to have all the Sinister Six plus more. The arms give this piece so much presence, man. This is going to be a huge 1/10 scale Dio, essentially. Then we have some classic Disney pieces, man. This brings me back to my childhood. We have the Peter Pan Dio with the croc. You have Smee, you have Captain Hook, Tinkerbell, and Peter floating above. Next to him, you have the Little Mermaid Dio. They did a great job of capturing an iconic scene from the movie, but littering the base with Easter eggs at the same time. You can actually hear the music in the background looking at this pose. Then we're on to the Lion King. This might have been my favorite of the classic Disney movies. Scar with the hyenas, and there's a new pre-order for the Lion King line that I'll show you in another video. Last one is the Aladdin one, and honestly, this is the weakest one out of the bunch so far. I love the Aladdin movie, I just don't think they nailed that Jasmine portrait. Still a very cool diorama with a ton of Easter eggs. Then on to another childhood favorite from the Masters of the Universe. They have their Skeletor from the 1/10 scale line. I'm really slacking on this line, especially with the new releases that they came out with. And then we have Trapjaw. This was the only He-Man action figure that I never got as a kid. I can never find this one in the wild. Love the green face on top of the blue skin with his claw weapon. Then you got Ram Man, one of the Motu villains that I'm not as familiar with, but hey, the more the merrier when it comes to He-Man villains. And then you have to have Prince Adam himself before the epic I Have the Power call and before he changes into He-Man. This is a prime scale, which is about a 1/3 scale equivalent for their own creation from Residium Coral. I learned so much about this IP since I've been out here. I think I need to make a whole video talking about it. BT is her little stuffed bear, a bear that she makes and weaponizes using the SIG gas. Again, I could talk about this all day. I am a huge fan of this IP after this weekend. And I love how they're creating all these characters in so many different formats, whether it's 1/3 scale, 1/10 scale, smaller figures, video games. I could go on. All right, help me out, Lord of the Rings fans. Is this Sauron? I am so not a Lord of the Rings guy, but I'm pretty sure this is the 1/10 scale Sauron. I could tell from that armor and that mask. And then something that I am familiar with, I cannot wait for the Age of Apocalypse diorama. Now these are the individual pieces. Colossus here, which looks great. Then you have the Wolverine with the one right arm claw, the other arm was blasted off by Cyclops. It's cool that you can get these individually, but I am waiting on the Dio with the huge Apocalypse. Rogue is on display here, but I didn't see Bishop. And I think there might be one more, because there's 5 characters, I believe. 1/10 scale John Constantine, love the translucent resin fire on the base. They nailed his attitude in the pose, so nonchalant, just holding a palm full of fire. Trench coat, looks great. And then on to the CCXP exclusives. Now, I believe these were all at one time larger scale that have been shrunk down to 1/10 scale size for these exclusives, which you could only buy here. Then we've got the Magneto vs. Sentinel launching that beam through the Sentinel's eye. I love the composition of this piece. He's floating up to the left of him, looking downward at it. Next up is their Iron Man piece, which I believe was at one time a 1/4 scale statue, the golden red armor. And then from Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, another one that I'm not really familiar with, but I loved the texturing on this cape. This was a fan favorite on the floor as well. And then finally we have the Darth Vader. When I reviewed this in 1/4 scale, I mentioned this is considered the best Darth Vader in 1/4 scale, so here it is now in 1/10. The detail is still there. All right, and then from One Piece, they had the Luffy diorama, and it's what you would expect out of an anime piece. Chock full of translucent resin, super dynamic, action is crazy, and then Luffy at the top here. And this was actually one of the statues that was being used as a giveaway on the floor. So if you see the teal sticker with the QR code, you could enter as a giveaway. And then the majestic beast that I rode in on coming to Brazil here, you have She-Ra riding in on Swift Wind. This is another one of those 1/10 scale pieces that doesn't feel 1/10. It's enormous with that wingspan. I love the sculpt of the feathers, the texturing going on here. Her confident pose as she's riding on top of her steed. Another banger from Queen Studios on the floor, the 1/4 scale Batman on Throne. This is kind of one of those pieces that I didn't pay a lot of attention to via pictures and video, but in person, it's really impressive, especially the large throne base as you can see behind him. I was digging the detail on this one, and this was a huge throne piece. Now this one, I wasn't sure on who produced it, but it's the Nightmare Sequence Batman from Batman v Superman. I was always digging this costume. You have this sandy tire base here, Batfleck with his trench coat, serious scowl, and look at the texturing on the front of the costume as well. This was a cool piece. I mentioned a 1/4 scale Christian Bale Batman on the floor as well. This one has the separate torso stand for the portrait. I love that Easter egg base. You have the Heath Ledger Joker there, and as you move up, same great detail, fabric cape as well, the texturing, the sculpt, and Batman, Bruce Wayne, looking down at his cowl. Now, what was super special about CCXP this year is that Iron Studios is celebrating 10 years. And I really dug this History of Iron Studios display that they had on the backside. This all started with Renan, the CEO, his favorite driver. He wanted to make a statue of him, so that was their first piece. And then we have that Iron Man that we've seen the re-release this year. This is from 2014. So it was 1/4 scale originally and now an exclusive in 1/10. Man, the next year, this 1/10 scale Green Goblin. This piece looks amazing and it looks like it holds up with the current line they're coming out with. Next year, you have Emperor Palpatine on Throne from 2016. Love that little smirk on his face, man. Cool piece. The following year, 2017, you have Wonder Woman on horseback. This is one that was never on my radar either. I remember seeing a huge, like 1/3 scale Wonder Woman on horse piece, but I don't think that was from Iron Studios. This one is much more space and budget friendly. 2018 was the year of the MCU for sure, man. You had Thanos here, and this was when I really got into the statue collecting hobby. I remember seeing this one in 1/4 scale during San Diego Comic-Con. Then we have the next year, 2019, you have the Jurassic Park diorama, the epic kitchen scene with the Velociraptors. They really captured this scene so well on this little piece. On to 2020, the entire Thundercast line. This is one that I regret not picking up. I'm pretty sure they're all sold out, but you have the whole crew here. And we have a new Thundercast comic book coming out this year too by Dynamite, so just rubbing salt in that wound that I never picked this one up. And of course from 2021, the Epic Apocalypse Deluxe version, which I do have sitting comfortably next to the Sentinel dioramas. And then from last year, you have He-Man once again, the deluxe version that has him in front of Castle Grayskull, with more He-Man stuff to come.
All right, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed the tour. I had no idea how much of a presence Iron Studios had out here at CCXP. I'm so glad I made the trek, even though it was a grueling trip. Let me know what you guys thought about the tour in the comments down below. And as always, stay minty fresh.